Well, we will go ahead and start the recording. So hello and welcome to the Q&A session. Like I said, it will be recorded. So for any members that weren't here, they'll be able to watch it later on. But before we jump into the Q&A, I wanted to give a few reminders and updates about this weekend and some of the things that will be happening later on with the Midwest Quad. So starting off, just giving a brief governance week schedule reminder. So we have the committee summit following this at 12:30 Central Time, 3 o'clock, and ending at 3 o'clock, or 1:30 Eastern Time, ending at 4 o'clock. And that is only for committee members. So if you're an active committee member, please attend. If you are not, you can kind of just skip over this section of the programming. But closing speeches will be happening at 3:30 Central Time, 4:30 Eastern Time. Make sure that you are attending. These are incredibly important and a really valuable opportunity for you to kind of hear what the candidates are all about. And then just another reminder that tomorrow at 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, we will be having the COP Day 2 session. If you are a delegate, please make sure that you have read through the COP agenda and are ready to bring on those discussions. There was also motions that were proposed but not moved during the last COP session, so make sure you familiarize yourself with that. And then just some Midwest Quad reminders and updates. End of year membership numbers. I know the graphic at the COP might have been a little misleading. We are not, unfortunately, at 2,705 members. We are actually at 540, which is still incredibly amazing. And I think I would love to give all of our presidents a big round of applause for getting us this far. You all have been amazing and really shown up and help promote the organization, and I cannot thank you enough. Construction competition is still in the process of being voted on, so be just listening out for that soon. It will be coming out, but just not at this moment. Additionally, February 2-on-1 calls will also be coming out, so keep an ear out for that. If you are a chapter president, you will be expected to schedule a 2-on-1 call with me and the Midwest Quad Director-elect in February. And then finally, the Midwest Quad Director Winter Review is a form that I have sent in the Slack. If you, I will send it again later on this week, but please make sure that you fill it out, especially if you are a chapter president. It's going to be incredibly helpful for me going into the next semester, and as well, it'll help out our future quad director kind of gauge where they need to be taking the quad. So with all of those amazing updates, we will now jump into the most important part of this session, the Midwest Quad Director candidate Q&A. And so the way this will work is I have them, they are in an order on my screen right now of Liz, Gwen, and Andrew. And so we will go ahead and snake questions back and forth in that order. So it'll start with Liz, then go Gwen, then Andrew, then the next question will go Andrew, Gwen, and Liz. And for the first question, to kind of kick this all off, why did you choose to become involved in the AIS, and what has influenced you to run in this election? And if you need me to repeat a question ever, absolutely I can. But we'll start with that one to Liz.
All right. How long do we have, Ethan? A minute?
Try and keep it sparse. Yeah, I would say try and keep it to around a minute. But you know, this isn't your speech, so don't feel like you need to give a speech, but just enough to get the point across.
Yeah, I actually got introduced to AIS in high school, not because my high school had an AIS chapter, but because I was so excited to get involved once I got to college that I researched organizations that were available to me once I got to school. And so I knew right away, first day of freshman year, that I wanted to be involved with AIS. But what made me stick with AIS is once I had attended grassroots for the first time in 2020. I mean, it was online, but even then I could definitely feel the community impact that the AIS had. And that community has inspired me and driven me to stick with the AIS this whole time. I definitely think community is the most important part of the AIS. And I think that we are not a powerful organization if we don't have each other. And so I really want to work to continue to build that community that we have, especially when we get together at conferences, and bring that spirit back to the quad to make that part of our everyday culture.
Gwen, the same question to you.
So I was first introduced when I was a freshman, but I didn't actually join until I was a sophomore. And I wish that I would have joined as a freshman, because as soon as I got into the world of AIS, it became such a central part of my college experience. And as soon as I got in the AIS, I started going to more meetings, started going to more events, and I eventually found my way to Treasure after being encouraged by a really good friend of mine. And I loved being able to lead some of our financial decisions with that, and then becoming our fundraising committee head. That it just kept growing and growing until I eventually became chapter president this year. And it is just, it's so amazing to be able to take part in such an amazing community of young architecture students, and being able to learn from each other and grow professionally throughout the entire thing.
And Andrew.
And then I joined AIS. Originally, my friend back home, his sister was our vice president at the time. And it just happened randomly. I was going to the same school that she was, and I didn't even know it. And then when I came, I saw like the flyer for AIS, and I was like, okay, like that's definitely something I want to pursue. Because I wanted to get involved as soon as I got here. Because in high school I wasn't necessarily involved too much, and I wanted to change that when I came to college. So when I saw the flyer, I showed up. And I got like the presentation that, you know, we all probably have gave, like why you should join AIS, and it stuck with me, and I really enjoyed what they had to say and like what I could benefit from. And even though it was like I joined when the thick of COVID, I still like saw the benefits that we can get from it. And then I became the freshman class representative, and then I moved all the way up to president. And then I just like wanted to run just because I know that like the impact that we can have on the architecture students around the world. And I also can see like how collaboration can make an impact, even in my own chapter at UWM. And I just hope to push that here, and like doing the Midwest Quad Conference is also like giving me a drive to want to run for this position.
Awesome. I will. That is some great answers from our candidates. Like I said, we will snake back to this next question. We'll first go to Andrew. And it is a little bit more specific about this quad. And what is it about this quad that inspires you? And what about this quad would you like to improve?
I think I'm like super inspired by this quad just because like we're all like together as one normally, and like I really like the Heartland Huddles, how like it's super like relaxed and kind of just come and like talk about what's happening, even if stuff is like going wrong at our chapters. Like we're all open to come and like talk about what's happening. We all help each other if like something's going wrong. And I think that's like something else that I want to like back up on, and I think I want to like improve on that and kind of open up like the Heartland Huddles for everyone to come and experience. Just so it's not just we're hearing from the presidents, but we're hearing from everyone in a more like collaborative thing. So because like everyone's voice should be heard within the quad, and I think I want to like encourage more people to come to the Heartland Huddles. So yeah.
And Gwen, same question to you.
I think I love how just involved our quad is. You know, we are just this big group of people that is trying so hard to get involved in AIS. And we've talked about it, how often people from our quad end up taking on leadership positions in the national AIS. And I think one of the amazing things that I love about the Midwest Quad is just the fact that it's so different from what I've grown up with. You know, I'm from Pennsylvania, and, you know, going to school in Ohio and being able to see like the difference in culture, I guess, even though it's literally just a state over. It's just amazing to be able to see how everyone grows from different educational backgrounds. And I think that it'll be really useful to learn from each other just how we approach AIS based off of what college we go to and what majors are involved within our college that we grow with as we approach our degrees.
And finally, Liz, if you would like to answer the question.
This quad inspires me because we are so diverse. No chapter is just the same, but we all have like a shared, I don't know, Midwestern, like we're all in this together, we're friendly, there's just like like when and Andrew was saying, there's just like a shared Midwestern culture of we're in it to win it, we're here. But I really want to improve our ability to just be friends together. Like what Andrew was saying with the Heartland huddles, those are very much, this is what the national is going on. It's important. It's a business meeting. But I also want, kind of building off of what Ethan has done in the last year with the icebreaker questions, have more opportunities for us to connect as people. Because I feel like again, the strength of the AIS is in its community. I want us to be able to work together as friends and not just as like coworkers. And through that, I'd like to have maybe probably an additional optional call of just like maybe the other half of the month where we're just, sure, here's a time where we can just get on and talk about anything similar to how we do at conferences, where we just have an opportunity to just talk about how things are going and have nothing to do with AIS. And maybe also just having like another channel in the Slack where we can, there's no pressure. You don't have to write anything perfect the way you feel. Maybe when you get into general and there's 900 people that you're like sending a message to. So.
Awesome. Again, another great round of answers. And so we'll move on a little bit from what about the quad to about you guys more specifically, and how does your background in or outside of the AIS make you a strong candidate for the quad director? And once again, we'll start with Liz.
All right. So again, I feel like I've been preparing for this role since I got to the AIS. I have been really closely following the quad directorships of Cooper, of Bailey, and of Ethan, paying attention to what they're doing, and then actively engaging with nationals. Been on a committee every year since second year to really understand this organization inside and out, so that once I'm able to transition into this role, if I were to get elected, it's not so much a learning curve of the national organization. I just need to be connected to every school and learn about each chapter individually, so that I can be the best quad director I could possibly be. Additionally, I've had lots of experience outside of the AIS, working in corralling a bunch of people and trying to get everyone on the same page. I've served as like student team lead, which is basically project manager, for my design build course at school, where I'm managing and keeping 30 people on track, which is very similar to managing a bunch of chapters. And then I communicate their needs to my professor, which is very similar to communicating the needs of the chapters to the national board. And I'm totally comfortable yelling at my professor on behalf of the students. So I'd be very comfortable yelling at the national board on behalf of our chapters.
And Gwen, same question to you.
So I already talked a lot about the leadership's roles that I've had in AIS, but I've also done a lot with just surrounding AIA chapters, where AIA Akron, AIA Cleveland, I've done some volunteering with AIA Cleveland, helping set up their award ceremonies for 2 years, and helping coordinate the layout of those, whether it be just helping set up or helping hand out booklets, just really helping everyone get together for cute little awards. And beyond the world of architecture, I also serve on Kent State's student advisory board, where we would meet with our dean of our college twice a year, I believe, maybe 3 times if we're lucky and he's available. And we'll discuss any issues we find in our college, whether it be issues with facing issues with diversity or facing issues with equity or any sort of issue in which we want everyone to work well together. And we collaborate with all of the student organizations within the college, AIS, APX, NOMAS, and just come together to figure out how we can solve these issues and how we can better what is actually currently working. And so we've been able to create things like what we call Locker Stalker, which is going to be this thing where you're able to donate your studio supplies from when you graduate and you aren't going to use these 5 pieces of museum board ever again. And you're able to donate that to a freshman that might need it, because we all know how expensive architecture can be. So that is one of our big things that's been brought up at the Student Advisory Board that is going to be going into effect with the help of AIS coming this spring.
And finally, Andrew, if you would like to answer the question.
Yeah, so like as I've already said, is I've held many like positions on the AIS board at UWM. And then like all of those positions just kind of set me up to kind of learn how to like lead a chapter. And I feel like it's kind of like our quad is just another bigger chapter. So I think that there too. And I've had similar experiences to like kind of just like I've been able to like lead like students before. So I'm also a UWM peer mentor. So with that role, I've been the past 2 years, every year I get around 180 students that are first years, and I have to kind of manage them throughout their first year of college. And I think that experience has set me up really well because I meet with them on like a monthly basis and kind of make sure they're doing well. And like, I know how to like say something's going wrong. I know the resource like at the back of my head, like what they need help at, because not everyone knows like what resources we have on campus. So that role is kind of like to get the resources out there. And I think that's similar to AIS, like the quad director is going to give a lot of resources that might just be hidden in like a Google Drive. So I think that's something that's given me good experience there, and also just like holding meetings with them, and it would set me up really well to hold meetings with everyone in the quad. And then I've also been able to be on like a lot of undergraduate research, which is like giving me the opportunity to work with a lot of like faculty at our school. So it kind of like I'm like comfortable talking with people that are higher up positions. If like that's something like someone's going around a chapter and we need to like work with like faculty, I would be comfortable doing that. And then I also have recently been able to get involved in AA Wisconsin a lot. So I kind of know kind of how they run things because I'm on the AA Wisconsin board. So I think that position also helps me out really well to like know how like they're running things above our organization. So.
Amazing. So this next question is a little bit more of a blue sky question, and it is, aside from the standard duties of the quad director, what is one thing you hope to accomplish in your year if elected? And once again, we will start with Andrew.
I think the major thing I want to accomplish when I'm elected is just to kind of get us all more like talking more and like open up like Slack so like everyone feels comfortable. I know like it is 900 people, but I think like opening up ways for more people to come together and do more like things together, like chapters interacting more closely. Because I know personally, like I feel like once you're at a chapter, you can kind of feel isolated in a way if you're not attending like anything in the nationals. So I think opening up ways for everyone to kind of come together more often and just get to collaborate more like on chapter basis, quad basis, you know, just like whatever, just kind of get things going. Because I know from talking with a bunch of like members this weekend, I found like that's something that everyone would want is like to come together more often. Because I mean, I know we have like the program, it's really hard to come together a lot, but if we had more like virtual options to kind of come together, I think that'd be good. So.
And Gwen, your answer?
So building off of what Andrew said, just bringing everyone together more. I think, you know, a lot of times, you know, we're really busy in the semester and the Heartland huddles can end up becoming more of a progress report rather than really communicating about what is going well and how we can help other chapters with what is successful. And I feel like I said before about being able to learn from other chapters, you know, some chapters are doing certain things that are working well for them that other chapters might not have ever heard of before, because it's not something that they've ever thought about and has never been used in their educational background. And I also feel like we could be doing more to participate in national partnerships. You know, at Kent State, we've been doing, recently, we've been doing a lot with student organizations like APX and NOMAS. And we've been using that to kind of engage a larger audience and therefore build our general membership through the connection of other student organizations. I feel like by doing this on a national level, we could host events together and be able to kind of kill two birds with one stone, be able to engage with them and have their audience engage with us.
And finally, Liz.
I've already talked a lot about my plans for community and like my ideas for like a pen pal program. So switching gears entirely, my other huge passion is learning and teaching culture. I feel very strongly that architecture in the profession and the educational experience feels a lot like a cult right now, and it really shouldn't feel like a cult. We need to prioritize ourselves. We need to prioritize our time. We are valuable. Our time is valuable, and the things that we make are great, but they're not as important as the people that are making them. So I really want to have conversations with each chapter and bring that conversation about learning and teaching culture and check in with how they're doing, what's going on in their chapter, and strategize with them ways that we can keep moving it forward in a positive direction. I know that we're not going to like make overnight total dramatic changes, but even if we can continue inching our way towards a better culture that'll have a better future for young architects moving into the profession, so they don't get taken advantage of by future employers.
Awesome. Some really amazing initiatives. So now I'm going to be proposing a scenario to our candidates of a chapter leader is having trouble gaining new membership and getting in touch with the members they do have. What are your best ideas for increasing engagement? Once again, we will start with Liz.
Well, something that's been really successful at our chapter, and I mean, Ethan's obviously talked about it, but we have committees, and that's a great way for people to get involved and feel like they really have like stake in the organization. Because if you just like show up to a meeting and you're like, wow, this is fun, but I'm very passive and sitting back through the organization. And it's a great way for people to get involved and get a taste of what it's like to be on the executive board before they really commit to like the time commitment of being on the executive board. And that's really increased our engagement across our chapter. And I would continue what Ethan is doing as Quad Director and encourage those committees to be formed at other chapters as a way to get people to being more engaged. And as far as communication, I think if we get, our chapter does also year level communication. And so just trying to set up group chats that are not for AAS, but they're just for the year level to have communication with each other. And then that way people are aware of that. And then also making an effort to go talk to first year and second years, because they're the ones who are really looking for that connection.
And Gwen, if you would like to answer the question.
Yes, of course. So at Kent State, the very first thing we do to get people's attention is we ask the students what they want out of AIS. It's not always up to us where, you know, we think, oh, everyone wants professional events. But if you focus too much on professional events, then they're going to want social events. And if you focus on social events, they're going to want professional events. You have to have the proper balance of professional versus social events going on throughout the entire year. And so by giving out like just a form, or even, you know, at the very beginning of the year when you're being introduced with all the other student organizations and clubs, just asking them in person, what would you like to get out of AIS? And making sure that you are transparent about your plans, just by like, if you have a website, posting your board notes from your board meetings and being able to show what you're working on and letting them contribute in any way that they'd like.
And finally, Andrew, if you would like to answer it.
So I'm gonna kind of build off all that, but it's kind of nice. I've been in this situation last year, where we would host events and we'd get nobody to come, and it's like that feeling is a really big bummer. You're like, I got all this stuff, like I was expecting it to be a huge turnout, and then no one comes. So kind of like what we did to get out of that situation is like we kind of tested the water to see maybe it's the day that we're planning our events that like is causing nobody to come. Like maybe nobody wants to come right after studio or vice versa, and basically kind of like I've been through like testing how each day might work out, and like will go through that scenario with the various chapter that's having the issue and kind of see like, oh, when's like your studio's time, or like when are the most people going to be in the building, and that's when you want to have your event. Because like if someone's like, oh, what's going on here, I'll just stop by, and then that's how you'll get people to come. And also like I found like offering food is also a really good way to get people to come. And then also talking to the first year students. That's how we've been able to gain a ton of our membership this past year, is going into the classrooms and kind of promoting what we are. And also my role as the peer mentor also aids in it too, because I manage a lot of the architecture students. So that's been a good help to get members to come into. I know not everyone will have that option, but if there is a way for you to kind of get something out of your chapter, that's something that I highly encourage doing. And also just kind of like having a good way of marketing, sending out like reminder emails for your events, and also having like posters up and going studio to studio saying, hey, we got an event tonight, come check it out, like we're doing this, and kind of just promote it from like word of mouth as well. So yeah.
Awesome. And this will be my final question that I asked. So if anyone in the group would like to propose a question, you're more than welcome to send it in the chat and we can ask it next. But starting with Andrew on this one, the role of quad director is quite expansive and there's a lot of information to learn. So how do you plan to learn the ropes of quad directors, and how do you wish on getting to know incoming leaders and members of chapters?
Yeah, so I guess just to answer the first part of it, I hope to like I know that like everyone's like super, like they want to help in this organization. So I know that the people in the past will come down and help me learn different various roles that I may not know, because I know just being a chapter president, you might not know what goes on at national in a full extent. So I would definitely lean on people in the past, and also I am a very like engaged student, so I will take the initiative to sit down and like read up on things and like learn what I need to learn to make sure I'm best fit for the role, and also like that I'm best helping all the chapters. And I also think my role as a peer mentor also kind of helps me, because I had to do the same thing for learning the entire like UWM college, like kind of seeing like what everything goes on and knowing every single resource and like what someone needs to do in each scenario that comes up. So I think like having that experience before will come doing it again will be a really good experience. And yeah.
And Gwen, the same question to you.
I think a lot of my learning experience is going to be through asking previous Midwest Quad directors what has been successful for them and what hasn't been successful for them, and being able to learn from that. And then also add my own little twist, being able to add something that would make me recognizable as, you know, not just Ethan's copy, or just being able to kind of introduce my own ideas while still being able to build off what has been successful from the past. And also just being able to learn and like engage with all the chapters on a personal level. Like I want the presidents to be more than just president of such and such university. Like you're going to be one of my buddies, follow each other on Instagram. I'll probably know what your favorite TV show is. I want to be able to get personal with everyone and be able to learn about what is actually going on at their university and what has been going on in their lives, to be able to engage with them as more than just like a minion of the Midwest.
And finally, Liz.
Yeah. So again, I feel like I've been preparing for this for as many years as possible. And I've been paying attention to what Cooper's done, what he's been successful at, what Bailey's done, what she's been successful at, what Ethan's done, what's been successful there. But also, even though I've been preparing, I still don't know everything, because there's stuff that is specifically behind closed doors for the board. And so that's something I definitely focus on, is getting familiar with stuff that is more behind the scenes work. But right off the bat, my first order of business would be to reach out to chapters personally and introduce myself. Just the same thing that I've done through this campaign. I've emailed every single delegate and met with them to try to get to know their chapter and their struggles, regardless of the election. Like, I just want to get to know them as people, because I think knowing and being familiar with all the chapters is my biggest missing piece at this point. And trying to get that set up through this next semester would allow me to hit the ground running come July. And then also just getting to know, like, I'm familiar with the liaison role of the committees, having served on the committees in the past. I'm familiar with communication in Slack. I mean, I know we all are because we're in the Slack. Yeah, and I'm comfortable with helping other chapters work through their issues, having served as several different positions within my own chapter.
Awesome. So I don't see any questions in the chat, which is totally okay. But oh no, we just got one. So from Nicholas Clark, and this will start with Liz. What are your future ambitions within architecture, the AIS, and beyond?
Within AAS, I'd like to continue running for an additional leadership position next year. I would like to run for national president as next year. And I think at this point, the quad directorship would help prepare me for that as well. Because I feel like this organization is incredible. I love all my favorite work that I've done in school has been doing AAS work. I care a lot about policy. I care a lot about making things better for people. My drive going into architecture school was I really want to make a difference in people's lives. I don't really care about the building. I value good design, but ultimately, if it has a positive change, that's what's the most important to me. Post, if I were to get elected and move to DC for a year, I am very interested in affordable housing. Again, because I want to make sure I care for people. I'm very interested in sustainability. Where that leads me, I thought I had a plan, and then, you know, you keep moving, and I'm just trying to keep my eyes open, but I want to get licensed at some point. But I'm also not necessarily tied to being an architect, capital A, forever. I have a lot of interest in policy. I'd love to work for the AAA full-time. And I have a lot of interest in just other creative passions. So it'd be cool to not necessarily have the typical one-line trajectory career. I'd like to explore a lot of different things.
And Gwen,
So beyond Midwest Quad Director, I've thought a lot about it, and I think I'd like to continue being able to serve on committees and being able to partake in the national board with that while I'm still very likely in graduate school. Though, as someone that's applying to graduate school right now, nothing's set in stone, absolutely nothing. There's all these different places that I could end up, and it's going to depend a lot on that. But I do know that beyond AIS, I do want to be an architect. Streamline, there we go. I really enjoy it, and I've had the experience from my internships to know that I am interested in going into this field and maybe possibly running my own firm in the future if all goes well. And kind of going right into working as an architect, getting my license, becoming a principal, just working my way up the ranks in the professional field.
and finally, Andrew.
Right, so yeah, beyond the quad director position, I do want to continue working within nationals for sure. And then I also, like, within architecture, I want to, like, my school just switched over to the BArch program, so I'm kind of getting grandfathered into that. So I was originally planning to go to master's school and kind of just eventually just keep working my way up in the architecture world. But then now I kind of have the mindset to kind of come back to my school and teach. because I think that was like a really good way to kind of still be engaged in like research and kind of be engaged in there's more like experimental work, because I know once you're out in the real world, like you're just like designing a building. And I think when you're in the school environment, you can really like make change. And that's something that I really value. So being able to have that opportunity is something that I want to do. So for sure.
Amazing. It looks like we actually have time for one more question. And if we don't have any from the chat, I'll ask the pinnacle question that we as quad directors get asked all the time by students, and that is, why should students join AIS? And I will first start off with Andrew.
So the first thing that I think it comes to mind when you ask that question is like, I think the community, like Liz has mentioned, and also having the opportunity to kind of like get your foot in the door at a lot of like firms, because you know we go to firms all the time, and I think it's a really good way to kind of get yourself out there, kind of network yourself, and also say you're like a first year student at a university. It's a great way to meet people because from my experience, I went to University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee and I knew nobody there when I showed up, and now I've met basically everyone in our architecture school. So I think that's like a great it's a great way to get involved and kind of put your foot in and like meet people, because the social events are like a great way just to kind of kick back and meet people at your university. And then I also like really value kind of the community as well, like I mentioned before, kind of being able to meet people all around, like going to the conferences. Like I went to my first conference this last summer, and it was really great to kind of see like the impact that organization makes, like hearing the stories from other chapters and everything like that. So I think, yeah, like just the impacts, like community and everything like that. So that's why I would join.
Awesome. And Gwen, same question to you.
As I said before, there's the social side and then there's the professional side. Sorry, my dog wants outside. He's gonna have to wait. The social side of everything, I think a lot of people would join AIS, you know, just so that they can make some friends. I mean, I know that with COVID and everything, I would not know a single underclassman if it weren't for AIS. And I think it's great to be able to, you know, kind of lead them, be a mentor for them. And I think that they really enjoy having that mentorship opportunity as well. And on the professional side of things, you know, with the firm crawls and being able to meet with, you know, the nearby AIA chapters or just doing other things with other student organizations, there's so many opportunities to network with real world professionals and possibly get an internship. And that's been my goal as chapter president. I've told all of the freshmen that my goal is to get them all an internship. So I'm kind of hoping that in the Midwest Quad, I can kind of take in some of those details and be able to translate that to all the chapter presidents for them to encourage members as well.
Yeah, if Liz, we have a brief moment if you want to mention, then I will.
I'll be speedy. Yeah. So everyone has different reasons for why they want to join AIS. I kind of break it down similar to like what you learn in English class, ethos, logos, pathos. If you're logical, there's no financial reason not to join AIS. You get so many financial benefits through competitions. If you win one competition, even like third place, that automatically pays for your membership. They pay for your first licensure test if you want to get licensed, automatically pays for the whole time of your membership. So financial benefits like that, Better Help campaign, that's a great financial benefit. Therapy costs a lot of money and we all need it. Pathos, the community is an incredible room or place to be. And then because I'm running out of time, ethos, there's a lot of networking. The AIS label makes it credible. Great.